Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore how seemingly insignificant, tiny events can trigger some of the most chaotic, tragic, and honestly downright ridiculous chain reactions that completely rewrite history. History usually feels so fixed, right? Like it's permanent and unchangeable. But in reality, it's built entirely on incredibly fragile moments. A single step, an isolated decision, or just a split-second delay can fundamentally alter the entire timeline we live in.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We'll start with the butterfly effect, then move on to on-pitch sliding doors, the transfer dominoes, scandals, and ownerships, and finally look beyond sports at geopolitics. Section 1. The butterfly effect. Let's establish the core phenomenon here.
Think about it like this. Every legendary match or major historical event is built on a single moment. We call this the butterfly effect, or a sliding doors moment. It's the whole idea of what if a shot that almost went in actually hit the back of the net? Or what if a decision made in a split second just went the other way? Well, as we're about to see, the consequences of changing just one tiny detail are absolutely staggering. Moving to Section 2, on-pitch sliding doors. Let's jump into the sports world and look at how split-second moments sparked massive transformations. Take Steven Gerrard's infamous slip. In the 2013-2014 season, Liverpool were absolutely flying. They literally just needed 7 points from their final 3 matches to win the Premier League. But then, against Chelsea, captain Steven Gerrard slipped, letting Demba Ba score. That single slip totally shattered their momentum and cost them the title. Because of that loss, Brendan Rodgers eventually faced immense pressure and was sacked. But here's the wild part. That very sacking opened the door for Jurgen Klopp, who came in and built an era-defining dynasty at Anfield. If Gerrard never slips, Rodgers probably stays on, and Klopp's legendary era might never have happened at all. Or how about this sliding door that changed the fate of a global icon? For years, Emiliano Martinez was just a backup goalkeeper at Arsenal, buried on the bench. But then, in June 2020, Arsenal's starting keeper, Bernd Leno, suffered a really serious knee injury. Forced into action, Martinez totally shined, eventually leading Arsenal to an FA Cup victory. Wanting to play regularly, he left for Aston Villa, earned a call-up for Argentina, and made one of the most iconic saves in history during the 2022 World Cup final. Seriously, if Bernd Leno's knee never gets injured, Martinez might never leave the Arsenal bench, and Lionel Messi might literally still be chasing his World Cup dream today. This brings up a super fascinating question that fans love to pose. What if Paul Scholes' 2004 goal was actually given? Back then, Manchester United's Paul Scholes had a crucial goal incorrectly disallowed for offside against Porto in the Champions League. United likely would have advanced if that goal counted. Instead, Porto went through, ended up winning the whole tournament, and launched their manager onto the global stage. And that manager? Jose Mourinho. So if this wrongly disallowed goal had counted, does Jose Mourinho's march to greatness just grind to a halt? Does he ever go to Chelsea and reshape the Premier League? It's crazy to think about. Now, it's pretty absurd to consider that a meaningless yellow card in a cup game could change European history, but that's exactly what happened here. Denis Cheryshev picked up a seemingly irrelevant yellow card while on loan at Villarreal, meaning he was suspended for his next Copa del Rey match. Well, Real Madrid recalled him, and completely missing the fact that he was suspended, fielded him illegally. Madrid got disqualified. Manager Rafa Benitez was sacked shortly after, and to replace him, Madrid promoted an inexperienced manager named Zinedine Zidane, who then went on to win an unprecedented 3 consecutive Champions Leagues. None of that happens without one forgotten yellow card. Section 3. The transfer dominoes. Moving off the pitch, let's look at how massive player transfers hinged on the slimmest of margins. Picture this, it's 2003, and Manchester United is desperate to replace David Beckham. Their number 1 target? Harry Kewell. But Kewell says no and chooses Liverpool instead. Left totally empty-handed, United pivots to a young kid from Sporting Lisbon named Cristiano Ronaldo, sealing the deal for just over £12 million. If Harry Kewell had simply signed for Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson might have never pursued Ronaldo, entirely rewriting both the player's and the club's iconic legacy. Ronaldo could have ended up at Arsenal or Liverpool. And the transfer market what-ifs definitely don't stop there. Fans agonize over these sliding doors. What if United signed Ronaldinho instead of Ronaldo? Or actually consider this. What if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had successfully signed Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham back in the winter of 2020 when they were still young prospects? Haaland wanted a release clause, United refused, and the rest is history. Could securing those two, or maybe grabbing Gareth Bale in 2012, have prevented Manchester United's modern decline? All right, Section 4. Scandals and ownerships. Let's see how this builds into boardroom decisions, where off-field chaos completely flips a club's destiny. 5,000 to 1. This number represents the greatest underdog story in sporting history. Leicester City defied these legendary odds to win the Premier League in 2016. But here's the thing, it only happened because of a bizarre off-field scandal. During a 2015 off-season tour, a leaked video of a scandalous event in a Bangkok hotel room forced Leicester's owners to take drastic action. They sacked manager Nigel Pearson and surprisingly hired Claudio Ranieri. Without that completely unrelated scandal, Ranieri never arrives, and that fairy tale title run just doesn't happen. Impartially speaking, this next chain of events is almost hard to believe. A personal dispute over a racehorse's breeding rights directly enabled the Glazer family to quietly orchestrate a massive takeover of Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson believed he owned half of a world-class racehorse named Rock of Gibraltar, leading to a fierce legal battle with Irish shareholders. The escalating boredom tension essentially handed American businessman Malcolm Glazer the perfect opportunity to buy up their shares and execute a total takeover. And the cascading effect of that leveraged buyout was absolutely monumental. It loaded the club with debt, eventually costing Manchester United £1.5 billion in interest and dividends. This single boardroom shift, born entirely from an argument over a horse, sparked the famous green and gold fan protests that are still going strong decades later. Now, before we leave the sports world, we have to acknowledge the most profound what-ifs of all, like how the tragic 1958 Munich air disaster permanently altered the fabric of English football history. As this quote points out, it forces us to wonder what would have become of generational talents like Duncan Edwards. Would he have been the one to captain England to the 1966 World Cup? It is a truly sobering reminder of how a single tragic moment can echo through generations. Section 5. Beyond sports. Let's look at geopolitics, because this phenomenon scales far beyond the sporting world. We see this exact same thing in real-world geopolitics. Just as a slipped foot or a yellow card can change a football club's destiny, a single military flare-up can rewrite the diplomatic realities for an entire region. For example, a single airstrike on May 7th between India and Pakistan ignited a huge chain reaction that went way, way beyond the battlefield. Neutrally reporting on the fallout here, this military clash eroded regional trust practically overnight. It led to everyday citizens having their visas revoked, cutting off cross-border movement. It deeply isolated neighboring countries and began dismantling vital collaborative groups like SAARC. It completely halted crucial joint efforts on climate change and regional trade. And this brilliantly and somewhat tragically highlights the human cost of the butterfly effect. When geopolitical dominoes fall, it's the everyday people who bear the brunt. Ordinary citizens lose their access to cross-border education, family visits, and environmental cooperation. A localized clash ripples outward, altering the life trajectories of literally millions of people who had nothing to do with the initial event. So whether it's a slip on the grass, a boardroom dispute over a racehorse, or a conflict at a border, the interconnectedness of our world is just staggering. History feels so permanent, but knowing how incredibly fragile the timeline truly is, I have to ask, what single moment would you rewrite? Think about the ripple effects your choice might have. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.